Hi everyone, my name is Daniel, and today I want to talk about one of the cards that my table really loves to play. If someone on the team can take it, we're probably going to think about it. That card is 21 or Bust, the level 0 rogue event that maybe gets you some resources, but always makes you play blackjack. Costs you 2 resources to play. This is a level 0 event that has the Fortune and Gambit traits, couple of skill icons there, and the text, one at a time, reveal random tokens from the Chaos Bag until you choose to stop. Treat each Skull, Cultist, Tablet, Elder Thing as a 5, the Auto Fail as a 10, and the Elder Sign as either a 1 or an 11. You choose, and you can choose later to change that. If the combined value of those tokens, ignoring the plus and minus, is 18 or less, gain 4 resources. That's a net 2. 19, gain 5. That's an emergency cash. 20, gain 6. 21, gain 9. Woo. All right, so there's a lot of really big things here, right? We have the possibility of winning 7 resources off of a single event. Now, if your number when you choose to stop is not 18, 19, 20, or 21, you get nothing. You spent 2 resources, an action, a card on wasting your time. But were you really wasting your time? Because we all had fun watching. Now, I mentioned that the middle value here, 19, which is quite common, gaining 5 resources, is about the expected outcome. There's a bunch of math on this. I'm not going to get into it in this video, but it's probably likely you hit 5, maybe 6 without busting. Now, that's fine, right? That's emergency cash. In fact, there's some upside here to gambling. There's also the downside. Let's talk about the other comparisons at level 0 that rogues can get and, do a little bit of comparison. Like, is this actually something that you might want to consider in the deck? So here are basically the mainstays in economy in chapter 1. We've got emergency cash, 1 card, 1 action, 3 resources, no questions asked, okay? That's a staple. This is just something that gets you resources when you want them, and there's no other funny business involved. The other 2 cards here, Faustian Bargain and Bank Job, are a little bit more complicated, but have a higher upside. Now, the nice thing with all of these is there's no variance. Unlike 21 or Bust, you know what you're getting into. Faustian Bargain, there is some variance in the curse tokens. You do get 5 resources out of this, so a net 5 is quite good. 21 or Bust never gets you net 5. It gets you net 4 or net 7 with hitting 20 or 21. Faustian Bargain gets 5, and it could be distributed among the different investigators at your location. The curse tokens, maybe they matter, maybe they don't. So that's a worthy consideration of economy in your deck. It's generally considered to be really good, maybe too good. Bank Job feels a little more fair. Here you're spending the extra action and 2 resources up front in order to gain 8 resources. Of course, you have to have 2 to begin with, which is true of 21 or Bust. So, these cards are a bit tricky because you maybe need all the cash right now. But the ability to spread the resources around is really good. Now, there's a few other cards that are kind of similar, but they have some variance involved. We have Gregory Gry. We have Watch This, skill card, out the door, skill card. And all of these involve some amount of gambling, as it were, almost like 21 or Bust, but a little bit more under your control because it's more based on the result of skill tests. So Gregory Gry gives you potentially up to 3 resources every time you take a skill test, as long as you think you're going to succeed by 3. So maybe you net 6 out of this, plus you get the 1-2 soak, right? Gregory is a great level 0 ally. Sometimes you whiff on the skill test, but usually you're going to get something out of this card. Watch This has the problem of if you whiff, then you get nothing and you lost some resources too, but it's pretty easy to commit this to tests where you think you're going to succeed by 1. And it's essentially a fast emergency cash that is in the rogue class, right? It's basically the same thing. You're getting 3 resources if you're able to spend up to 3 of your own, and that's really good. Out the door, this is a new card. This one is similar. It's a fast 2 resources. The downside here is if you fail, you lose 2 resources. But you know what? You sometimes can get rid of those resources, put them into your for example, Silver Tongue, to just get more skill bonus. Of course, this card actually gives you +2 to a lot of tests anyway, so at the very least, that's good. So there's some variance involved with those three cards, but usually it feels like you're not gambling, like you're not actually uh, playing these cards with the possibility of losing. It'll happen with the auto fail, right? But usually you're not going to do anything but worry about the auto fail, which kind of goes back to 21 or bust, right? That card has much more than a 1 in 15, 16, whatever the chances of drawing the auto fail are of busting. Like there's just way more possibilities, although it sometimes depends on your chaos bag, of you getting nothing out of it, which isn't great, right? I do think that the better comparison to 21 or Bust, instead of Watch This, Out the Door, etc., is something like Voice of Ra, where you just don't know the outcome, right? You always get one resource, but then you reveal 3 random tokens from the Chaos bag for each symbol you get. You get another 2 resources. At least you're getting something, right? But you don't know if you're going to get 5, you don't know if you're going to get 7, right? You could get quite a bit out of that as well. Whereas 21 or Bust, to get 7 resources out of it, you need to be, well, a little bit lucky, and maybe there's not much you can do about that. Whereas with Voice of Ra, you can do a bit more token manipulation. So just simply looking at the click math, as it were, 21 or Bust can put you in a big hole if you don't get the expected number of resources. So unfortunately, I don't think it's a great card. But at the same time, I think that in this game, gambling for resources is okay, right? Thematically, you're gambling. Resources are kind of money, especially in the rogue class. And mechanically, I think it makes a lot of sense too, because the resources are something that uh, you don't actually, let's see how to put this a different way. While it is something that you need to play the game, you aren't totally hosed if you lose all of your resources. You can get them back through basic actions with other cards, of course, too. And I think this is like a legitimately fine way to do some gambling in this game. You're always gambling, as it were, with the chaos bag, but imagine if you're gambling for other parts of the game, like for drawing cards or for getting clues or for dealing damage. Oh, wait a second. We already have cards like this and they're bad, right? Song of the Dead, much maligned card because the reason why you want to do 3 damage to a single enemy is because you save yourself extra actions, you save yourself the enemy attacking you. There's lots of things here where missing hitting the skull is bad. You're gambling on drawing it, and there's some stuff you can do to make this easier, sure, but the expected value is probably pretty low for actually dealing the amount of damage that you want on that actual turn. There are some, I think, better versions of this. So the Eyes of the Dreamer, Breath of the Sleeper cards, these are a little bit gambling-like because they get you extra clues or damage based on which tokens you draw, but it also has a built-in way of you getting to draw more tokens. Again, those cards aren't really for me either, but I think if you compare this to 21 or Bust, it's okay to just whiff on the resources. There are other ways to deal with it, and probably if you're playing this card, you're not really in the position of it's a do or die play. Now, should you put this in your deck? I think there's room for fun cards in this game. I just gave you all of the mainstays in terms of level 0 rogue economy. There's some other stuff too with other assets that are for, getting clues or dealing damage. So like it's not the only way to get resources at level 0, but it's kind of weird. I was looking through and there aren't that many just give me resources cards in the game. And that's why people relied so much on Faustine Bargain, on Bank Job. I think 21 or Bust has a role to play too, and that role is fun. In a co op game, there's value. It is going to stop the whole table. They're going to watch you pull tokens out of the bag, count out loud what your number is, and it's so much fun. The highs are high. I recently pulled a let's call natural 21 by pulling the Elder Sign followed by the auto fail. Those were the only 2 tokens I drew, and that's just an instant win. it's amazing when that happens. It was just such an incredible moment. And what I love most about this game in general is, in fact, what kinds of moments you can have that are unpredictable. The lows are low, but sometimes that makes it really memorable too, where you're sitting there and saying, man, I probably could just pull one more token and then you bust. You know, you did it to yourself, I guess, but it's still a fun thing to happen. And I think I can finish off by saying there actually are some synergies. It's not just a card that gives you a random number of resources, sometimes zero, but rather you can reduce the cost of this by using something like Prophetic. Remember, it's a fortune card, it's also a gambit card. The fortune trait means that I can make this cost zero instead of two. So the value is the more resources I can get out of it, right? Instead of when I hit 21, I get a net 7, I can get a net 9. And that is a lot. Gambit, I think, matters too for cards like Friends in Low Places, which helps you draw more cards from your deck based on what trait it has. I think this is a good add just to get more things with that particular trait. Marion Tavares, right, can take fortunes as well, and she's fine with taking that as some economy as an off-class card. And I think even just the extra event that you can play makes it good. For the skill icons, right? If you don't need to get the money, then there's some icons there. Emergency Cash doesn't have any. Crystallizer of Dreams, and there's other things you can do here that I think make it worth having in your deck. It's not the best card, but sometimes in Arkham we min-max way too much. And sometimes we should be min-maxing for fun. And this card, 20 or Bust, is fun. That's all for me today. I'll see you next time.